Mr. Qinisani Nhlanhla Mbatha is my guest, the MD of Mbatha, Walters and Simpson. Doesn't that sound nice? Mbatha, Walters and Simpson. You hold a BSc in Quantity Surveying from the University of Natal, and you have a Master's in Commerce in the realms of Project Leadership and Management from UKZN. You are a registered professional quantity surveyor. You are a member of the South African Council for the Quantity Surveying profession. But I want to go back to the learning process. You forced yourself into school, effectively.
That's correct, yeah.
I want to know what the reaction of your grandparents was at that time.
They were shocked. I mean, the whole day they'd been looking for me, and they couldn't find me in the village, because that's where I started from. I didn't start from the glitz and glamour of Joburg and Durban, but I started from a farm, and I progressed to high school in KwaNongoma. In one of the KIP schools.
So you're on the extreme north coast of KZN.
Very much. And I think that's where I really craft my understanding of self at Mlogoto High School, which is a quick king school up in KwaNongoma. That taught me a great deal about life, because it was a boarding school. It wasn't a day school, and you would go away for 3 months and come back home. And, tribute to the teachers there, because it was out in the mathematologies in KZN, but out of that experience, I think that's when I was able to understand that there is life outside just teaching and nursing. Those were the standards. But the guidance teachers in our school were quite aggressive in exposing us beyond the known, beyond what everybody else had thought a learner from the rural KZN will do, which brought about the good story of why I decided to take on quantity surveying as a career choice. That story was motivated by, I can't remember the guy's name, but he came and gave a talk about what town planning is and what are the other careers that you can find within the built environment. And there was this thing called quantity surveying. And my name starting with Q, I figured, it wouldn't be such a bad thing. I'm a kind of person that is very determined to do what I want to do. There is nothing that I think is impossible for one to achieve. Even when I was still at high school, I would have looked at life and I would have then embraced what the teachers were showing us in terms of the door of opportunity.
In 20 seconds, give us a lesson on what quantity surveying is and does.
We hold the purse for any building that comes up. We hold a crystal ball because we start with the estimate of what this thing that you have in mind is going to cost. You're the guy that holds the purse of a structure.
Talk to us about how then, once you've identified your vocation, your calling, you start to take the steps to implement that and take it not only from a degree, but to a profession.
One thing that I was determined to do was to do this degree on record time, which I did. During the vacational period at university, I never got to enjoy that because I was at Walters and Simpson, the company that I am now the managing director for. You can look at it from the first time that I was at university right up to when I finished. I was quantity surveying. I then qualified as a professional quantity surveyor. I was then headhunted to join the Industrial Development Corporation. This is where everything else started for me. When I joined the IDC, I was the only quantity surveyor ever employed at the Industrial Development Corporation. I then leapt to the private sector, and I joined forces with my current company, Walters and Simpson, at a time. I think
same place you were working.
It actually was like, well, where have you been all this time? We've been missing you here, and come, let's do great things together. We started off in 2007, and then we've always had in our minds that over a period of time we'd have to rebrand the company, and which we did. The company that I had trained under had always embraced the demographics of this country, and we had all these aspirations that actually tied in to what I wanted to do.
Where do you put your money? How do you make it grow?
I think saving money is what is instilled in every one of us in our profession.
Do you quantity survey your life?
Well, I certainly do, I think, to an extent.
Mr. Qinisani Nhlanhla Mbatha, also known as Q, marching along to the conclusion of his own story. We know that the epilogue by no means has been written. It's been a privilege talking to you.